Okay, what's up, guys? My name is TMossBoss, and I wanted to let you guys know about Anchor. Anchor is an app that you can download to record your podcast in the easiest way ever. Like, it doesn't require a whole lot to know. Like, you just pretty much press record and you just start doing your podcast and stuff. I don't know what you plan on doing, but you plan on doing something. That's why you're here. So, yeah, download Anchor, or you could go to their website, anchor.fm, and yeah, you could do it straight from your computer too. So yeah, it's easy. They distribute everything to they distribute your podcast to every streaming services like out there, Spotify, Apple Music, anywhere. Okay, and then you can monetize it, so you're making money off of what you love doing. All right, so people, make sure you do it. Make sure you download Anchor, or you go to their website, anchor.fm. I will talk to you guys later. Thank you guys for listening. Peace. Okay, what's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the TMossBoss Show. And in this episode, I figured, because I think I did say I wanted to come up with new topics or new stuff to talk about in on my episodes on my podcast, but find like a new series like within the podcast and stuff. So that's what I was thinking, and there was one idea that I had that I was like, I think I could carry on with this. I think I can do a few episodes of this and stuff. So anyways, I'm going to be doing stuff talking, or episodes is going to be based off of my pet peeves and stuff. And overall going over my pet peeves, and probably just pretty much giving my enemies tools and stuff to use against me and things. But anyways, no. So I wanted to talk about what first pet peeve I wanted to talk about, and I feel like that it needs to be said. People just overall being nasty. I mean, people sneezing in their hands. See, here's the thing. I work at this, for those that don't know, I have this cashier job at this cafe. And there's been times and times and times when people have handed me cards where they've been wet. I don't know what the liquid is, but the cards have been wet. People have handed me cards after they had it in their mouths. People then sneezed or coughed or then licked on their fingers. They overall did something where a bodily fluid was coming from their body, and they tried to give that to me. Why? Like, I don't understand why people, they have to like overall do stuff like that, or sneeze and do all these other extra things. Like, man, I'm like, it's why? Like, just stop. Like, you're surrounded by people. You know that you're surrounded by people that are germaphobes. Don't do stuff like that. Like, and then the other thing is that's like the one that really, it got to me when I started working at this place, was people blowing their nose in the like dining area where people have to eat. I do not want to hear any snot noises while I'm eating my food. There's times where my appetite has been spoiled because of people doing that very thing. And I'm like, I just don't understand why people have to do stuff like that. Like, you can't go to the bathroom or can't blow your nose before you leave your house. Just go to an area where there's not a bunch of, like, if you do it in the bathroom, okay, then that's another thing with people when they do in the bathroom. Of course, the feel like the main thing, the common thing is people using the restroom and not washing their hands. I don't know how many times I've been using the restroom and I would hear somebody use the restroom, okay, doing number one or number two. And they just, you hear that, you're listening all like, okay, when's that sink going to turn on? Nope. Instead, I hear the door opening and closing. I'm like, man, I swear. And I'm like, people, they do stuff like that. I'm like, I don't even understand. Like, and then there's another thing. I'm like, that might not be as nasty, but like, still, I don't want to brush my teeth and I'm in the area where people be pooping, peeing. I remember the one guy, he went in there because his nose was bleeding. I remember I went in there because my thumb was bleeding. Like, this is an area where I guess, yeah, they clean it. But it's just, to me, like, I don't understand how people can go in there, brush their teeth, shave, do all these other different like things that you could be doing at your own bathroom. I mean, I understand. I know people are gonna be like, oh, well, people, they poop and pee in their own bathrooms. Yeah, but that's their own poop and pee. You're doing it in a public restroom where other people's poop and pee is going to be flying through the air and stuff. I mean, not literally, but the spirit of it. And I'm like, okay, so if I stop for a second to like, and you guys might hear some like noises, it's because this cough drop, it was kind of like cutting underneath my tongue and stuff. So I had to like rearrange it and things. But yeah, I'm like, see, I'm trying to be safe for the public. Okay, I'm getting cough drops, taking medicine and stuff. Like, if I'm feeling sick, I will take some medicine. There's people out here sneeze, cough, do all these other extra things in their hands, and I'm like, no, don't hand me anything if you're going to be doing stuff like that. I just don't understand. It's like people are living in a day and age where they think that coughing, sneezing in your hand, it's a cool thing now. Like, you got elbows for a reason. Like, nobody's not going to touch your elbow more than your hand. If you got people that touch your elbows more than your hands, and you're in the wrong business. But yeah, I just don't I don't understand that. I really don't. What other things have I? Oh, I remember. I'll never forget the one episode of 1,000 Ways to Die, where the person was and that was like how they killed everybody. They sneezed, coughed, did all these nasty things to the food, and gave it out to people and stuff. I'm like, yo, don't be around me doing stuff like that. I don't care how mad I made you. If you do some stuff like that around me, you best prepare for a fight. And guaranteed, I'm not leaving until I see you either crying or knocked out. And I'm like, I don't understand. I don't understand why others, they'll try to like purposely get people like sick and things. Like, and I feel like that's what some people do. Like, that's how this virus, this coronavirus, that's how it done spread it so fast, because people out here are like, oh, well, I'm going to rub my hands, lick stuff, do all these other nasty things, and just get everybody sick. Like, man, you just need to stay indoors. You're honestly not a people person, so stay indoors. Like, I'm like, I understand, like, it's like, yeah, this coronavirus, it's like, you just hearing about it, and it's just like, just seeing, like, all the crazy things that's happening behind it, like, thousands of people getting sick. I think they just raised the death toll up of how many people died of this virus, and I'm like, man, you guys, y'all need to seriously like that's honestly, I'm like, I don't blame people when they be walking around with like hand sanitizer, like all these other extra things. Like, I get it, you know. There was like it's, man, like, it's seriously, it's so annoying when you see people just be being nasty out in public and things. Like, there's this, like, I don't know whether she was on drugs or what, but, like, even if I'm, like, I don't even want to walk in that type of stuff, you know, and I feel like that's another, like, pet peeve, but it's mostly, I don't know if people be seeing this, like, out in public and stuff, or in the downtown area where they're at, but for those that don't know the downtown Seattle area too well, there's a lot of crazy people out there. People poop, pee all out in the street. There was the one girl, I was on the bus heading to work, and I don't know whether she was on drugs or what, but she's just squat in the middle of the sidewalk. Luckily, there wasn't nobody walking up and down the sidewalk, but she's just squatting in the middle of the sidewalk just peeing. And I'm like, look, I know that her bodily liquids is going to be underneath my shoe, but I don't even want to step in that type of stuff. That's why I'm like, man, you can't find some bushes or some grass, some area like that to pee. Like, no, pee right in the middle of the sidewalk so you can potentially get arrested. I'm like, man, and I had to say, this had to been, I probably would have been going to prison for murder or attempted murder if somebody would have did something like this. But so there's like, I think this was also in Seattle too, but this crazy guy got a bucket of poop and threw it on a woman. I'm going to prison that day. I am going to prison that day. I'm like, you can arrest me, you can do whatever you want, but I'm going to prison, and this person is going to end up in the hospital. I probably would have tried to take that bucket and crack it across their head. I would have done bodily damage to that person. with no regrets. They obviously don't regret what they just did, so why should I? Like, it's stuff like that. I remember I seen the one video, the woman, she was mad at her ex-boyfriend or whoever, and she got a bucket of puke and threw it on his car. First off, how did you even get a bucket of puke? Like, you knew what you planned on doing, so you just got drunk one night and then you just threw up. Oh, see, and I can see why. That's something where it's like, I don't care what the man had did. He could have cheated. He could have stole something of hers. He could have broken. I don't care what that man did. But he did it for a reason. If you're going out and doing stuff like that, throwing a bucket of puke and she was aiming for him, but I think he hurried up, either rolled up his window or closed his door. But she was aiming for him. You have to be insane. That is something that I never would have imagined. That's something that's like, I could have never done it myself, but it's like, you either had to been drunk and was like, oh, okay, I'm just going to throw up in this bucket and then just dump it all over my ex-boyfriend's car. Or the weird part about it, what if she wasn't even drunk? What if she was just all like, oh no, I'm just going to force myself to throw up in this bucket, and then just like, either way, you went through the troubles of doing that. You're crazy. You are crazy. And there's no defense. There's nothing I can hear unless like this man, and it's like, if this man would have killed somebody that you loved, I don't even see that being a punishment. I'm like, I feel like that's just too much of a petty and too much of a like just weird punishment for a person. Like, you have to either call the cops or get revenge or something if they done killed the loved one. But if they're like, if they, I don't even know what the man could have possibly done. Let's say he cheated. If he cheated on her, she's out doing weird stuff like that. Chances are she did more weird stuff. So, even this wrestler, I'm sitting there watching wrestling. Why would she even do something like that? You just was wrestling with another person, touched all over their body. Most likely they're sweating, and she licked her hand. For what reason? Like, that's why I'm like, man, you are a weirdo. Like, whoever this wrestler is, like, yeah, she can probably, like, win in a fight against me. And you know what? Hey, I'm like, you can go ahead and fight me and win, beat me down, do whatever. But just don't lick your hand. Just do not lick your hand. There's no reason for you to lick your hand and stuff. That's why I was like, I remember that I heard the one UFC fighter, he would go and lick his gloves after a fight. And I think they was like, of course, if you've seen UFC fights, sometimes those fights can end in like a bloody like match and stuff. And there was like the guy, he would like lick the blood off of the gloves. And I think they say he ended up getting like HIV or something like that, because it's like you ain't supposed to be doing stuff like that. It's weird, bro. But and this is the one thing that what like I cannot like look at a person the same after something like that. But the singer Billie Eilish, there was a photo that I seen of her, and I'm like, you know what? If there was ever a chance, okay, that me and this girl would have crossed paths, I just cannot get this image out of my head of her just having, I don't understand why people think that that's funny, but she just had like some snot hanging out her nose. Like, I'm like, you know what? I cannot get that image out of my head. Like, people have been like, oh, this could be your future wife. I don't care. I really don't. I'm like, you post photos like that on social media for what? I don't know. I would rather see blood. I would rather see blood. I feel like blood is a more common thing. Like, okay, if you got like a couple of cuts, bruises, stuff like that, to me, that's not like, that's bound to happen. But something that you can control. You can control the snot coming out of your head. But instead, you decide, let me just let it hang for a little bit and then just take a photo of it. Yeah, that's not, nope, I'm like, oh, like, and the girl, she's this rich millionaire. most likely, yeah, never would have a chance with her, but I wouldn't want that chance with her. Not at all. Not at all. Like, that's why I'm like, nope, can't do it. Cannot do it. I'm like, man, people. Like, and then I remember it was like, there's this, that's probably like the nastiest thing for me. I hate stuff like that when people just let snot just run down their nose. I remember there was a news reporter where she did that. And she was just like, she was reporting the news and stuff like, lady, nobody would care if you just wiped your nose real quick. Just wipe your nose. But like me, my thing is, it's like if I'm sick and I got a runny nose, I can't just let my nose just run. Like that's why when I'm like when I'm on the bus asleep, I always like, and it's kind of messed up when I get like sick during the summertime because I be trying to rest my head and things, but they got these like metal bar seats where it's like if you do and the bus driver goes over a bump, you're going to potentially have a concussion fooling around with this bus driver. But anyways, like, yeah, when I'm sick, and let's say if it's the winter time and I'm wearing like a couple of hoodies and things, I'll fold my hoodie up. Like, if I'm sick and my nose is running, I'll fold my hoodie up and I'll just lean my head back on the bar. But I won't lean forward and let no snot. Like, I don't even want to see that from myself. Like, I would rather see blood come from my body than that. And I know people are like, you would rather feel pain than to let snot. Yes. Yes, I would. Yes, I would. At the end of the day, and I know, and the thing is, like with blood, and it was funny because I remember when I was younger, I remember I was like, it was like one day I was just playing around with my friends, but I accidentally slipped and fell, and when I had failed, I cut my thumb on the ground, and I was like, and it was bad too. My thumb was bleeding hard. Like I still have this cut today. It's funny because I showed the wrong cut. I still have that cut today. This happened to me like 10 years ago when I had did this to myself. But yeah, I was playing around with my friends, cut my thumb, and then all of a sudden I just was like, yeah, just bleeding really bad. And I didn't care. I did not care. I was just like, yeah, I was like, honestly, went to a neighbor and then got like a Band-Aid. But I was just all like, to me, I was like, I seen it and I was just like, oh wow, that's crazy. I'm like, that's a lot of blood coming from my hand and stuff. And then even when I was all like, no, the one day when I was at work, that probably had to have been like the worst cut I've ever had in my life. But I was cutting bread and we were about to open up for lunch. And I'm like trying to hurry up and cut it and things. And then I was also talking with a coworker. So yeah, I got distracted. And then, cut my thumb. Like, not off, but cut the tip of it, like, in half. To where the point I was seeing, like, two parts of my thumb, like, but it was, like, split and things. Like, my thumb at the top of it was split. And so I can see it. And it was bleeding bad. Like, when I remember I had went to the bathroom and took my glove off because I had a glove on. Took it off, and then blood just like poured out. And I know people are all like, oh, I can't look at blood and I can't. Well, that's how I feel with snot. I'm like, seriously, if a person would have walked up to me at work and they just had snot, I probably would say something. I'm like, no, you got something going on up in the nose region. That's not normal. Like, nope, don't hand me nothing. I don't want to take nothing. In fact, you can have your food for free. But I don't want to touch nothing of yours. Like, no, don't touch me. Don't get near me. I swear I'll swing on you, okay? Like, don't do that type of, like, it's nasty. It's really nasty and people be letting that, like, just letting that happen and stuff. But, yeah, I cut my thumb pretty bad that day. But, yeah, seeing the blood and it was just all like, oh, I'm like, yeah, it's bleeding pretty bad. Like, I just hope that it's, like, nothing happens. But, man, was my hand, it was crazy because the one coworker said that I must have went into shock. But I was just all like, dang, that's how it feels? Like, man, I was like, that was some painful stuff. That's why from now on, I've always worn a cut glove. I've never cut bread without a cut glove. Never. I'm like, I'll go around that whole cafe. I'm like, I'm not cutting the bread until I get a cut glove. I'm like, I'm not doing this to myself again. So, anyways, yeah, I was, it was funny because I remember a coworker, I was bleeding. I was like trying to like wash the blood away from my hand. And because it was like bleeding in the glove and stuff, and so like it got all over my hand, and I'm like trying to like wash it away and stuff, and then the coworker, he comes up from behind me, and he's just like, yeah, you might want to handle that in the back. I'm like, well, I don't want to be around food and stuff, and then my hand is like bleeding really bad. Like, yeah, it was like under control in the glove, but I'm like, no, like I don't want to do that. And I'm like, no, I'm like, I'd rather for them to see me in this bathroom than for them to see me run to the kitchen with a bloodied hand and stuff. Like, where it's like I'm surrounded by food. I'm like, no, I was like, I couldn't, I didn't say that to him, but I'm all like, okay, like, you know, he is like a head chef, like, let me just, you know, let him be correct and right for this and things. But yeah, I'm like, no, I'm not going to, if this were to have ever happen again, I would do, because I would do the same thing. I'll go to the bathroom, try to get like a couple of towels or something, wrap my hand and things, and then, you know, clean myself up. But they'd be all like, oh, like, yeah, go to the back and handle that. I'm like, no, I'm like, because then it's like I've been bleeding all in the back and stuff. Then that blood might get like transferred somewhere around the cafe. The next thing you know, I'm like, yeah, nope, I'm like, I think a little bit too much and stuff with situations. So yeah, I'm like, I wouldn't, nah, can't do it. But anyways, but yeah. I would rather see blood than snot, alright? So don't walk up on me with a runny, snotty nose. I don't want to see it, okay? But, no, I'm like, and then there's, like, times when they'll show that stuff on, see, then there's, like, this wrestler, he goes, I'm like, he took the sign out of the guy's hand, but he bit the sign. I'm like, do you know if that man washed his hands or not? Like, he could have been digging in his butt, okay, grab the top of the sign where you just put your mouth at, and yeah, I'm like, now it says, I can understand if you rip it, and then okay, but if you bite it with your mouth, I'm like, I feel like people don't use your mouth for any reason other than eating, drinking, or kissing. That's it. Okay, that's it. That's the only eating, drinking, or kissing, or any other kissing type of activities. All right, but other than that, don't use your mouth for anything else. That's why I see people, they be wanting to, oh, my friend, he bet me $10 to lick a old rusty pole out. No. I remember I did that as a kid, and I till this day, I don't even know what was wrong with me. Licked the bottom of a shoe. My shoe, at least. But still, I was just like, what was wrong with me? Like, what caused me to do that and things? Like, yeah. I look back on my childhood self doing stuff like that. I'm like, you are a weird kid. Okay, I probably, if I could go and travel back in time, I most likely would have ran up on myself, smacked the shoe out of my hand, and probably would have kicked myself in the stomach. It's myself, so I'm like, I feel like in that way, like some form of hitting a child would mean something and things. But as long as it's me, but if it had been anybody else, I'm like, you know what, do what you want to do, but. Yeah, I probably would have kicked myself in the stomach. Or the throat. I feel like those are like, it's probably the throat. Well, then then again, my voice probably been like all raspy and deep, and I probably would have had like a cool voice and things. But yeah, I probably kicked myself in the throat. If it had paid off in the long run, yeah, I did it. But anyways, yeah, that's my pet peeve. People just being nasty. So I'll talk to you guys later. This has been another episode of the TMossBoss Show. Thank you guys for watching and or listening. If you're viewing this on YouTube, make sure you like and subscribe. And if you're viewing this on the podcast streaming service, make sure you follow or subscribe however it's set up. And if you're purchasing tickets from SeatGeek, make sure you use my promo code TMossBoss, and it will knock $20 off your first purchase. So yeah, make it happen. Do your thing. But yeah, I'll talk to you guys later. Thank you for watching and or listening, and peace.